यह ज्ञान की दुनिया, यहाँ दुनिया का ज्ञान, कृषि विज्ञान और अनुसंधान, नए क्षितिज अब छू रही शिक्षा, ऑनलाइन पढ़ाई संग लग रही कक्षा।
गुड मॉर्निंग टू ऑल ऑफ यू। सर्वप्रथम मैं आप सभी को हिंदू नववर्ष एवं भारतीय विक्रम संवत 2080 की हार्दिक शुभकामनाएं देती हूँ। ये नववर्ष आप सभी के जीवन में उमंग, उत्साह और ऊर्जा का संचार करे। साथ ही आज हमारे चैत्र नवरात्रे भी शुरू हो रहे हैं, इन सब की भी आपको बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं। Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome for the day. It gives me great pleasure to extend to you all a very warm welcome on behalf of organizers on the second day of the conference on blended learning ecosystem for higher education in agriculture in the plenary session 2, that is on blended learning through the lens of emerging technologies. For conducting this session, we have two co-chairs with us. One is Dr. P.L. Gautam, former Vice Chancellor, G.B. Pant University, Pantnagar, and Dr. T.R. Sharma, DDG Crop Science, ICBLE. I am very much delighted to invite Dr. Gautam and Dr. T.R. Sharma and request them to kindly come over the dais and occupy their chairs. I welcome you, sir, on behalf of everyone here. We are pleased to have Dr. Gautam and Dr. Sharma with us. I just want to apprise to all of you that in this session we have the 5 keynote addresses. The first keynote address is by Dr. Sudeep Marwa from ISRI, New Delhi. The second keynote lecture is of Dr. Surinder Singh Chauhan, Senior Lecturer, Animal Science and Food, the University of Melbourne. Both the speakers are requested and they are present physically here, and I request them to take their seats on the dais. Besides, we have the 3 online lectures today. Dr. Perry Den Brock, Professor, he is joining from Netherlands. I welcome you, Dr. Perry. The keynote address 4 is by Dr. Glenn C. Shin, and he is Professor Emeritus and from the Texas A&M University, USA. He has also joined online. Sir, I welcome you in this session. The last lecture keynote lecture is How Virtual Reality is Changing Education and Research, and will be delivered by Mr. Harshvardhana Kikeri, founder and CEO, HoloSuite, and he has joined from the USA. I also welcome Mr. Harshvardhana. Dr. Sanchita and Dr. Madhu are the reporters in this session, and both are requested to note down the proceedings, please. I am profoundly delighted to take an opportunity to introduce our co-chairs for this session, Dr. P.L. Gautam. He is a renowned geneticist and plant breeder, and he has occupied a number of prestigious positions like Director NVPGR, National Director NATP, Vice Chancellor G.B. Pant University, Pantnagar, Deputy Director General Crop Science in ICAR. He is Chairman National Biodiversity Authority, Chennai, Chairperson Protection of Plant Varieties and Farmers' Right Authority, Ministry of Agriculture, Government of India, etc., etc. He has developed 11 crop varieties and has been actively involved in the capacity building, teaching, and research and extension in SAUs as well as in ICR. He is recipient of the many prestigious national and international awards, including the Lifetime Achievement Awards, and most prestigious is Lal Bahadur Shastri Memorial Medal, Uttaranchal Ratan, Eminent Citizen of India Award, and Indira Gandhi Priyadarshini Award. The second co-chair is with us, Dr. Tilak Raj Sharma. He is plant biologist, and his research has been focusing in the field of genomics and plant disease resistance, and he has worked on the crop improvement of rice. Presently, he is Deputy Director General Crop Science And he has also served as Executive Director and Chief Executive Officer of the National Agriculture Food Biotechnology Institute and Center of Innovative and Applied Bioprocessing under the Department of Biotechnology. He is known for his studies in the field of genomics and plant disease resistance, and he is an elected fellow of the National Academy of Sciences India and Indian National Science Academy. The Department of Biotechnology of the Government of India has awarded him the National Bioscience Award for Career Development, one of the highest Indian Science Award for his contributions to bioscience. A very warm welcome to both of you, sir, for accepting our invitation for co-chairing the session. On behalf of the organizers, I am highly obliged to all the keynote speakers and would be presenting this paper on varied themes, which is the need of an hour, both present physically as well as online. So with this brief introduction, I hand over the mic to the co-chairs for conducting the session. Dr. Gautam and Dr. Sharma, please.
Thank you, Madam, for setting the stage and introducing the co-chairs and also mentioning about the key speakers in this session. As you know that this session is in continuity with what we had yesterday, and the whole conference is a continuum. And I hope that more people will be coming in this hall, and several are already joined, what you call online. So virtual entities are also present. So that is very satisfying. And my co-chair will help me in, and also guide me in seeing that the session goes on very well. I am very happy to see Dr. Trilochan Mahapatra, the former Director General of ICR and Secretary dear. Welcome you, Dr. Mahapatra. And we have many distinguished people here in the gathering. I also welcome them. And I have good support from left and right. And fortunately or luckily, these three entities in continuum happen to be from the same place. So that is another advantage for us, that we are in a safe zone, because if there is election, then of course I'll also get elected. Thank you very much for taking care of me on both left and right. And that is left has no, left and right has no disadvantage, because I am myself lefty. So that's also very interesting. And hopefully all of you had sound sleep, and I'll see that you are happy and cheerful in this session, and so that you are available for the next sessions also. I see a lot of casualty in the conferences, many casualties. People come from far-flung areas. They have problem of sleeping, problem of eating, problem of working. So I think all will feel happy once we have this session in order. Without taking much time, how we have organized, that is a protocol given by the organizers. So we will go by that, and we would like to finish it in time so that the next sessions don't get disrupted. I also see Dr. R.C. Agrawal here, the organizers of this very important event, and sometimes organizers also become virtual. But he had been always present. That is very important, and that gives a little solace and satisfaction to all of us that we have full backing of Dr. Prasad and everybody here. So with this brief thing, Dr. Sharma, you want to say something? Yes. Okay, Dr. Sharma has given me liberty to move forward. So we start with the first keynote lecture, which is being delivered by a young man, Dr. Sudeep Marwa. Can you see him? Young, charming person. He is here. So please welcome him. He is the project in charge of NEHEP Component 2 project. He has developed and implemented many e-governance systems of national importance, which are used by the students, scientists, and farmers across the country. He has many systems given to the system. They are so difficult to be pronounced, so I like not to take the risk of making a mistake. And I leave it to this young professional, Sudeep, to share the information on the topic, which is very close to your heart. Sudeep, please go ahead.
First of all, I add my own words of welcome on the second day of the conference to all the dignitaries on the dais and off the dais. I really feel lucky to share my thoughts, and the topic is empowering agriculture higher education through next generation learning solutions. So this project, NHEP Component 2, Resilient Agriculture Education System.
Sudeep, can you be a little louder because there's a problem in sound.
Okay. So this project, National Agriculture Higher Education Project, Resilient Agriculture Education System, is we are working on it for last couple of years, and this particular system, as we say that, is formulated by both World Bank and ICR in a 50-50 partnership, and all the 74 universities in general. Recently, we have 75th university. So all these are the beneficiaries of this project. And whatever solutions we develop under these projects are for all these universities. 4 deemed universities, 63 state agriculture universities, 3 CAUs, and 4 central universities with agriculture faculty. So our solutions which we develop are for everyone, keeping in mind the inclusive growth of digital agriculture education. Our main motive is that in one go, we provide solutions to all the universities and not selectively to some partner universities or like that. There are partner universities with us which help us in developing these solutions, but the beneficiaries are all the universities. So, keeping this in mind, the main objective was to have equal access and affordable to vocational training and other type of things also, not only MSc and PhD trainings, but for other certificate courses, other things also, through both the theoretical as well as other emerging technologies like AR, VR, etc. Greater gender and wealth equity through universal access to quality higher education. Finance interventions that increase the supply of qualified technicians and teachers. Higher level of economic productivity through diversifications, technology upgradations and innovations. And stronger innovation culture by twinning participating AUs with higher performing centers of learning. So there are, we know that all diversity, we have center of excellence in some universities, and then how we can take that knowledge to others by providing these type of solutions. And then strengthening AU private sector linkages to better orient student learning towards market relevant skill sets. Based on that, we want to have a building resilient infrastructure, promoting sustainable industrialization and fostering innovation. And main our beneficiaries are how the students will be benefited. Students are benefited through a movement of teaching to learning-centered education, leveraging ICT and external partnerships, piloting effective stakeholder participation in curricular development, pedagogy options and course evaluations, then increased equality in education access through vocational and technical certificate programs, and overall improvement in the learning and academic environment would both expand and sharpen their skill set need for future employment. So how this will benefit the faculty? Basically, faculty would be benefited by increased collaboration among Indian agriculture universities and other universities, since we know that ours is already a blended system, as told yesterday. That is, ours, in other sense, we have different type of institutions, and the NARS itself is a blended system. So we want to have everyone benefited in terms of faculty, collaborations among AUs with other universities, and globally to raise research quality and its linkages to education quality and relevance. Similarly, with institutions would benefit from governance and transparency, infrastructure in development, and productive campus culture and intensive use of technology-enabled learning. So here is the solution, which says that basically RISE is the development initiative under NHEP undertaken to strengthen the digital infrastructure of agriculture universities, enhance the quality of digital contents in the field of agriculture, and facilitate digital capacity building. So these three are the main pillars of RISE, and under all these three pillars, we have worked till now. For the first pillar, the digital infrastructure, we have developed KrishiMeg and then further strengthened the KrishiMeg infrastructure with additional servers and other things. Then we have established 74 virtual classrooms, networked together to link it with our data center so that one can capture classes, video lectures anywhere from any of the universities, and it can be linked directly to the main server. And from there, it is publicly free access to all the students. So if one professor records a lecture at Coast Kashmir, a student sitting in Northeast or in Kerala can view that. And all these lectures will be tied together to form a system, we call it Agri-Diksha. Then we have AR/VR experience centers. All 74 agriculture universities now had AR/VR experience centers. And again, 14 modules have been developed, and all these modules have been developed in collaboration with the agriculture universities. So 11 universities come forward, and they helped us in developing the modules, and these modules again are given to all the students so that each and everyone can experience. And this is a new emerging technology, and we have softwares now in place, one of the best software, wherein we want now going forward that faculty will be trained and they can start developing their own practical modules. Like whatever they do in the laboratories, they can start making those modules in a AR/VR format. So this is what we envisage from the AR/VR. And then the second part, which we say the digital contents, we are already in process of developing digital contents, not from today, but from last 10 years. In the NAIP project, we had a lot of digital contents, and around 300 courses were developed, UG courses as per the fourth Dean Committee. And then under the NHEP itself, we took these courses in another project, Component 2 project, wherein we again called for multiple calls, call 1, 2, 3, 4. And a collaborative platform has been developed, wherein all faculties can register into them and that platform and can actually contribute. So even a single course, which is can be developed by 11 people. So one course reviewer, 5 course content creators, 5 course reviewers. So all may be sitting in all different 11 universities, or in a maybe 2 or 3 in the same university. So a collaborative platform has been developed that can actually help us in developing digital content. And then we are also developing digital contents for full animation-wise. So 2D animation, 3D animation, or video lectures. That again we are developing, and 60 such courses are in process, again held by all the AUs. Then the third part is very important, is the capacity building. For all these infrastructure, new technologies, new contents, we want capacity building to be there. And we have organized so many workshops, so many training programs, both in physical mode and online mode. And these have been going on for last 2-3 years. And next year, this will take much more aggressive way, and we'll be going again to all the universities and teaching our students, faculty, to use all this type of material which we have developed. So basically, now to aggregate. So these features which we have developed are right now looks staggered. So this is the platform which we launched yesterday, and which will bring all these things together. That is NARES BLP, Blended Learning Platform, and it's designed to revolutionize and modernize learning experiences, and it will be available to all the universities, all the professors of all the AUs. And anyone can actually not only do the MSc or PhD part, but it will have something like an academy or Coursera type of things, where one professor can also launch a certificate course for their target audience, maybe a public or maybe certain industry or whatever, and they can have their own course material and they can charge fees through a payment gateway. So all of them will be empowered to develop their course contents individually as well as collaboratively for our standard BSMA-based course material or the 5th Dean's Committee or 6th Dean's Committee based on those curricula. So when we say blended, it means that a lot have been told. I will not say why or what, but this is what we want, that a classroom, maybe a use case can be, a classroom is there, a good teacher is there in a university, but there are 7 more colleges teaching same course. So at the same time, when a teacher is teaching to 50 students, another 350 students may be in different colleges, and they can take the class there, and some helping teacher can be there who can help them to solve certain problems, some small issues, and this way we can leverage the system and can use these systems to overcome our shortcomings like lack of teachers or there are so many vacant positions. So this will help all of you in a much better way. And this we have done. So basically, I'm skipping to this and coming to the main system now, which is NARES BLP and what features it has. We have categorized almost 13 features which are very prominent of this particular system. The first one is the user management. All the users will be enrolled here, and as you know that we already have academic management system and it's running in 60 universities. So we will not be going again back to all of you to get data for all the faculties. The data will be directly migrated from the existing academic management system to this system, and a link will be provided inside the AMS as well as on the BLP, so that all the users, students who are already registered and working in AMS, because AMS is more sort of an academic e-governance system where the admissions can be taken through the AMS till he passes out. So all the data is there. So that will be done through user management. These are the most powerful features for the user management. We can configure various type of users in the system. Then we can also have groups. The faculty can divide different groups of the students and can give assignments and can give certain things which he wants to. And then they can be done online way, and then he can check it also. So there are quite a good number of features of user management. Then the second is organization management. We always need a system which take care of various hierarchies of the organization, starting from the agriculture education division at the top, or and then the universities, colleges, then departments, then sections. So whatever way you want to organize your hierarchy of the organization, you can do so. And this system will provide 74 tenants. This is the latest architecture, which we call it multi-tenant system. All of you will have your own way of doing the things in this system. This is hosted centrally, but managed and maintained from an academic point of view in a decentralized manner. So you all will have the full liberty to create different type of courses, classes, all on your own. We will just teach you, train you how to use the system, and then it is yours. Okay. So the third feature which we say is personalized learning. Now all of you know that each one of us learns on our own way. Unless until we allow the students to learn in a different ways as per the pace one student can understand. He can see once, twice, thrice in a different way of learning. So the system helps you to provide the personalized learning. And these personalized learning will again have so many type of adaptive features. Some are data-driven, some are data analyzed and then AI put onto it and then final conclusion is given. So all those type of things will be available to help personalized learning. Then the fourth one is e-learning management. In this, we know that the systems can take data from multiple sources. And there are standards available in the e-learning, which we call it SCORM compliances. So even if you have developed certain courses, because we are using e-learning from last at least 15 years, 2007 we started using Moodle, right? So if you have contents which are available in Moodle, SCORM compliance, the content can be straight away taken to the system and all these contents can be used for an aggregation purpose. So that is also available in the system. Then we have assessment engine. Whenever last 2 years, we are teaching online, but all of us have a great difficulty in assessment part. This assessment, we couldn't take it as we are comfortable in classroom. And this system provides one of the best assessment engine, and wherein a lot of care has been taken care of, that students can be refrained from copying and other things. So this allows your system, if you have attached any other device, if you have put it another TV in front of you or any other way, it can record your picture and other things, so that it can be enabled in a way that even a student, if he is sitting at his home and he doesn't copy while giving an assessment. So all those features are also available so that it happens. And then gamified assessments is also there to assess candidate skills in a quick and engaging experience way. So this is some shots of assessment engine, tracking of an assessment engine from a student point of view. If 5 assessments is given to him, 3 assessments he has taken, 2 is done, 1 is upcoming. All that things are shown onto the system in a nice dashboard way. These are some more examples. Then the next is the classroom management. For the classroom management, one can have a batch size, one can have a wait list management. If some students, suppose a batch size allowed is 50, if there are 55, you can have put in a wait list. So there are so many other features. At least 100 features are there in totality in these 13 sections. So we really need to go one by one and teach each one of you how to best use this system. Then next one is mobile applications for learners and faculty. Here are some of the very key features of this system. This system is fully compatible with mobiles, iOS, Android. Earlier we used to develop only Android-based applications, but this system is now available for Android and iOS both in one go. And we have a very specific features also, wherein some mobile-centric features are also taken care of. Then there is a choice-based credit system. We already have a choice-based credit system in our system, so system also supports that feature also. Then social and collaborative learning. Again, many students can come together, can submit assignments, can actually record videos, and we are planning that even faculty and students can record certain videos for certain questions, for certain topics, and can upload. And obviously, these will go through a workflow process and will create a big movement like we have in case of YouTube and other things. We can put it in an agriculture, our AU system, so that anyone can record their video lectures, maybe in classroom, maybe in their home, maybe elsewhere. Even students can do so. And we will categorize all that content in different sections, and it go through an approval process so that the content which is published is good and it can be seen everyone. Then some special collaborative features like strengthening of streaming of video libraries. And there is one more feature in the system which you generally use in OTT platforms. not in any of the e-learning system, wherein when you are offline mode, you can have the content which is already downloaded. Suppose you want to go somewhere, you are going on a train, and you know that I have a certain time. So before going, you can just download the full lecture, and while you are on the move, you can see it from the downloaded part. So sometimes we have a connectivity issues in certain students may not have their best connectivity at their homes, but certainly they will have in their campuses. So just they can download it on their mobiles, and later at home, they can view it. So some of those type of features are also available in the system. So that's what we say streaming video library, adaptive byte rate streaming for low bandwidth scenarios. So some systems we don't have, like they require a huge bandwidth. And whatever good we put, but it's limited to that bottleneck that you must have a good bandwidth. But here, based on the connection itself, the system is intelligent enough to stream it in different ways. Gamified learning, you can give prize awards to your students, you can create groups, give assessments, and then say, you can say these many gold coins is there, just like people use it for points, etc. All those can be easily available, and screens something look like that. Then BI tool for analytics and reporting.
Yes, Sudeep, you have outshot the time.
Okay.
And please sum up.
Yes. So this BI tool is basically for analyzing student performance. So each teacher wants at the end of the semester that how their students have performed. So this will give the full-featured analytics of the students' different type of assessments or different type of activities. And it's available not only to teacher but to the complete hierarchy. Then complete integration will be done through the existing systems like AMS, Agri-Diksha, and other systems also. So main benefits I can summarize. For faculty, take control of learners' progress, modify and update content on the spot, allows instant feedback from learners, blended face-to-face and online class, easy sharing of contents, and hold online discussions and chats. For students, it can be increased learning skills, improved satisfaction and learning outcomes, learn and teach with others, learn anytime, anywhere, experiential learning, and improved interaction with fellow students and teachers. And these are some of the key features which I explained. Finally, we can say that the impact of NARS BLP would be that enhances collaboration and communication between stakeholders, equip universities, students, and others to overcome technological constraints, addresses widening learning gap, boosts knowledge retention for learners, build new models for education, deliver features customized to user needs, and NARS is for inclusive digital agriculture for all AUs. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was very useful presentation. But we are bound by time, so we had to conclude it. Thank you very much. It was very interesting. Now, we move to the next presentation, which is by Surendra Singh Chauhan, who is the Director of International School of Agriculture and Food and Deputy Director of Melbourne, India Postgraduate Academy. With more than 15 years of research and teaching experience, Dr. Chauhan has been a champion of the flipped classroom model for self-paced learning in veterinary education. Flipped classroom is the active teaching approach that can be successfully used to enhance student learning outcomes. He will explain more about it. I will not take a risk of doing that. Dr. Chauhan, where are you? Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Gautam. It's an honor and a pleasure actually to be speaking in front of some of the legends of Indian agriculture, Dr. Gautam, Dr. T.R. Sharma. Thank you, Dr. Agarwal, for the opportunity to be here today and talk about some of the things that we have been doing, and also especially about the flip classroom model. So in next 20 minutes, this is what I'm trying to achieve. I will give you an overview of agriculture and veterinary education at the University of Melbourne. What is new people like Dr. Gautam, they have spent their career in agriculture research and education. Why this has become even more important today. And as Dr. Agarwal very well, designed this conference, that we have to develop a new environment and a new system of agriculture and veterinary education. Why is that? What are the skills that are required, and how next 10 minutes, especially the last 10 minutes, I will spend on giving an example of one of the subjects that I'm teaching into at Melbourne Veterinary School, where we are using the flipped classroom model. And then, of course, a few key messages from this presentation. So, quickly, University of Melbourne, #1 university in Australia, in Victoria. Everybody knows Melbourne Cricket Ground. Yes, not very far from the Melbourne Cricket Ground. We are sitting right in the center of the city. The beauty of this university is because yesterday it was pointed out, we need multidisciplinary approach. So this campus that we have got all the faculties. Basically, we have engineering, for example, you talk about medical, you talk about law, arts, veterinary, agriculture. We all are on one campus and we work together. For example, precision agriculture, a lot of work we are doing with our engineering faculty, and they provide very important inputs there. Why this agriculture education has become so important? Because we have got bigger challenges now, as some of the speakers mentioned yesterday. And the challenge is not just that we need to produce more, but we need to be careful about that. In doing so, that we don't jeopardize our environment, which we already have. So that's why it's a challenge that we produce more, but look after the environment as well. Another reason this has become even more important is not just about producing enough food, it's about producing quality food. And to produce that quality food, the demand has grown up, which is fantastic. Like a country like India, people's capacity have increased to buy, and they want quality food. So that's why we need to change our education system, how to address that demand. Another challenge, probably the biggest challenge, is this, that while we are asked to produce more, but this is something that we have to take care of. We must reduce the impact of our agriculture. We must reduce the emissions from our agriculture, which most of the countries have committed to. And therefore, this will require special skills. This will require special teaching and learning practices to give our students the skills they will need to deal with this challenge. This is another challenge that lots of my veterinarian friends here, they will agree. This is another challenge that we are dealing with when we talk about producing quality food. The growing burden of animal diseases, not only affecting the food supply, but also affecting the quality of health and also affecting the quality of food. So these are the few challenges that we have to now look at the whole farm system. We cannot focus on one aspect. We have to look at this as a whole ecosystem where our students, our future generation, our next generation of scientists will need to have knowledge of all these together, the animals, the humans, the ecosystem, so as they can produce quality food while not compromising the health of our environment. And that is why this has become even more important today. And then, this is the biggest challenge. So our global agriculture, I would say, is going through a perfect storm. And that storm is we are being asked to produce more. Our next generation, they have this challenge of producing more, but they will be facing less water, less resources, less land. And top of that, they have this demand to produce quality food. This is why the agriculture education has become even more important, because our job as teachers in agriculture, veterinary sciences, is to produce the next generation, the workforce, the experts, the consultants, who will be able to stop this storm, but also produce quality food for a healthy planet. And that's why we are not focusing on what we need today. At University of Melbourne, this is our focus, this is our vision, that we need to produce this next generation of scientists, the graduates, that will have the capability to address the global issues. They will have the knowledge, they will have the skills to produce enough food, but at the same time, look after the environment. So we need to produce these students who have the knowledge of the farm systems. They should have the knowledge and the skills to use technology, because without technology, this is not going to happen. And another as I said, it's not about just producing for one particular country. The focus here has to be on global skills, and that's why we would require that they have the scientific knowledge, they have those interpersonal skills, as many of the panelists yesterday mentioned in the panel discussion. They need to have those soft skills, but of course, very important, not focusing on one particular subject. They will need the knowledge of whole farming system, and that's why designing the course curriculum is very, very important. And recognizing that, of course, they need to be job ready as well. That's why this education has become even more important. And most importantly, as I said, if we want to produce those graduates with all those skills, we will require the experts. We will require the experts in animals, in soil, environment, plants, human nutrition, food, and they all have to work together. We have to work together, and we need a team of people, early career researchers, mid-career researchers, experts, professors, and we will need to use the data, big data. We will need to use the precision technologies all together. And recognizing that at the University of Melbourne, we have put together through 3 schools, joined together, working on this providing agriculture and veterinary education, School of Agriculture and Food, School of Ecosystem and Forest Sciences, and the Melbourne Veterinary School across different campuses, and achieving this goal. And of course, I couldn't agree more with some of the speakers yesterday. Experiential learning is so important, and that's why we call this as a living laboratory. This is one of our campus, 2400 acre farm, teaching farm, which has one of the best facilities for students for the experiential learning. For example, we focus on these small paddocks that are used by the students to grow, for example, the vegetables as part of their subjects. And at the end of the basically concept of paddock to plate, at the end of the semester, enjoying some same vegetables in their semester ending barbecue, for example. We are using all technologies. An example here is automatic robotic dairy, where students, they actually manage this. And you would be surprised to know that we can run this dairy for a week without having anyone over the farm. And a lot of Dr. Agarwal, the scientists who are coming to us, they have been exposing to some of these facilities. And recognizing this, that we have to have a team that will be able to train these students. We have, of course, there is no replacement of yesterday. Some people mentioned that we cannot replace everything by online teaching. Very true. That's exactly, we need these laboratories. We need some of the dry labs, for example, but we can actually provide the flexible access to students to these facilities, so that they can plan their learning as per their time and as per the flexible time they have. Individual learning, very, very important. There is no way that we can treat all the students in the same manner. Every student needs to have an opportunity for, especially in clinical, they need to have the opportunity. So if we have all the facilities, then how can you manage the time? How do you find time to do things that can be done online, or the things that is actually important to be done on the campus? And that is where the dual delivery mode is so important, and that is where the blended system is so important, because doing few things online or flip the classroom model helps us to buy time. So we can spend more time on or with the students by doing few things, already making it available to the students before they come to the classroom, and then spend more time on analyzing and applying that knowledge. And that's where, especially blending, there are different ways of blending, but I'm talking about today online and campus-based teaching. And so this is the traditional classroom. In traditional classroom, what we do is that before the class, the students, they will come to the pointer. Okay, sorry, thank you. So before the class, typically they know just the contents. That's you give to the students. They will come, you deliver a lecture, and then after class, you give them some practice exercises. In the flipped classroom model, what we do is that students, they have given the access to actually that learning material, full learning material. I will give you actually an example of one of the subjects that I'm teaching into, so that they come to the classroom with the basic learning of the contents, and then we can spend more time in the classroom on analyzing and applying that knowledge, and then also continue that after the class, where we can have further learning activities to enhance their learning. So if you are aware of the revised Bloom's taxonomy, and I'm sure many of the teachers, they are aware of this, but if you are a teacher and you don't know what Bloom's taxonomy is, I would strongly encourage, please read it today, because this is really a framework which helps us how we should be designing, how we should be assessing the learning of students. So this is a framework for teaching, learning, and for assessment. So typically what you do is that we have lectures which are helping the students in terms of remembering the stuff, so recall activities. Then obviously we have to design what would be the instruction. So to help students to remember something, for example, we will have lectures. So that is an instructional activity you have. And then we have to think about what is the activity, the learning activity for students. So you ask them to review the lecture, for example, try to recall things. And then what would be the assessment to make sure that actually they remember. You have let's say, simple quiz. So you have true and false. That is how you are testing it. So in the flipped classroom model, we have flipped this. So we want to make sure that activities that we are offering to them, which could be a pre-recorded lectures, is actually taking care of this part, remembering and understanding. This is happening before class. And then we can spend more time on applying and analyzing that information. And then students can go back and they can continue after class through the further learning activity on evaluation and creating new knowledge, which is really important. So this is an example of how this framework can be used in teaching, learning, and assessments. Now I'm going to share with you a class system that I'm following along with my colleagues. And just a reminder of copyright notice that I'm going to share with you, which is a University of Melbourne copyright, please. So this is a subject we call Frontiers in Veterinary Science, which we offer to students in our Doctor of Veterinary Medicine, but also we give opportunity to the students who are doing Bachelor of Science and they want to do Doctor of Veterinary Medicine, because we offer DVM, which is a graduate degree. They have to have Bachelor of Science, they have to have a bachelor's degree. And this is our learning management system. Thanks to Dr. Marwa for designing the one for ICR, pretty impressive, thank you for that. So this is what we are using, this is Canvas. And in this, for example, we have the subject. And before the start of the semester, and this is followed in many countries. I've worked in the United States. They have, obviously, they might be using different system, but Canvas is something that we are using. So before, at least 2 weeks before the semester commences, subjects are ready, and you need to publish these subjects. And of course, some of the contents, you don't have to publish at the very beginning. You can at least contents, you can publish for a few weeks, and then you can slowly release those contents. So this is the panel here. So students, this is a student view, it says here. Students can only view the things that our instructor will publish. And so this is an instructor view. There is a welcome video for students to give an idea of what the subject is. And then here we have different features, for example, announcements, which will keep students up to date, because students, after all, they are students, they need to be reminded what's going to happen every week. You send out the notice that, okay, hey, this is what is happening this week. Just remind them, quizzes coming up, we can do that to that. And then there are overview of the subject, different modules, what is going to happen in different weeks, assignments, Quizzes, Dr. Marwa talked about assessments. Yes, we can do that through these. And then grades, discussion, very, very important, the discussion platform. As Dr. Gautam was saying, this is a continuous education. Learning should keep going on. It should not stop. That's where the discussion. Students can put questions, teachers can respond. Other students can also help actually. They can jump in if they know. Sometimes you realize by the time you wake up, the other student has already addressed that question, which is fantastic. And that's what we want them to do. So as I said, this is a student view. So you saw previously, so many tabs were available, but this is a student view, and student can see only what has been published. And then this is what I was talking about, the module. So we have lined out, this is a subject where typically we introduce them into different concepts of animal or veterinary sciences which are applicable or important for animal health. So we will introduce them to animal welfare, for example, the impact of environment, the role of genetics. So you will see in the different weeks. For example, in week 4, they are talking about nutrition. Week 5, genetics, toxicology, infectious diseases, and so on. So students have the whole idea of the full subject. What are they going to do? What are they going to learn? And they have the idea of what the expectations are. And as I said, that we need to keep them reminding, and that's why the announcements, you can set out the announcement, you can tell them what is going on, what is happening, and then also you can always remind students what is available. So for example, let's say week 5, actually this is what I need to get back to Melbourne tomorrow night. I am flying back because Monday is my week and I'll start teaching. So this will be available to students, and this is the advantage of actually blending. Otherwise, I would not be able to come here today because I've already recorded my lectures. My lectures are available to the students, and then I'll be back to run the on-campus activities, which we call workshop or case studies. So these lectures are already pre-recorded. They are available to the students, and they will be released, and they can go through these contents already. And then also, next thing which will be, as I said, and some people mentioned yesterday, how much blending. So we will provide them access to pre-recorded lectures. We will provide some videos which will help them, but then very important that we have face-to-face, which can be a case study, which can be a workshop. And that's what we're gonna run. So our students come to the classroom not with the blank faces. They come to the classroom with the understanding of the contents. They have already learned some contents. And now we want to spend more time on analyzing and applying. And also, for example, in this workshop, this is from the previous year, what students were doing, as you can see, someone, actually Dr. Gautam mentioned that, when they become teachers, that is the best learning, or someone mentioned yesterday. As you can see, what will happen, the students in groups, they will be assigned some activities that they have to do. And then we ask them, you appoint a leader, and these leaders, and then they will actually try to teach to the group. They'll come up with maybe a presentation or a discussion. And another point someone mentioned yesterday, that don't disregard your the traditional values. Modernization doesn't mean that you throw away all the traditional practices. It is about adapting the best practices. So you see that we have these digital screens, but these boards, whiteboards, nobody can replace whiteboard teaching. It is still there. If you students like to do that, they can close these screens and use the whiteboards. So we are actually combining these technologies, but not ruling out anything here. And then, as I said, there can be further learning activity to enhance their experiences. For example, Doug, you mentioned yesterday the discussion that you had a couple of weeks ago about the live export and the issues about the disease outbreak. So we give students the real life situation, and they have to analyze those situations and do some activities around that. And then, of course, a very important part that Dr. Marwa was also talking about, that we need to bring everything together. So at the end of the week, there is a wrap-up activity where, again, we will meet the students and we discuss the whole week, the activities for the whole week. And then, of course, assessments, very important. So that's why, depending upon following the Bloom's taxonomy framework for each type of the assessment that we want to do, we have some activities. For example, quiz, just to test their simply if they can remember the things. We have the quizzes there, and then we also have another type of assessments. For example, the essay, because essays, that's where they will test the different technologies, and then also the different type of learning. And rubric, please, rubric is very important if you are asking students to write a scientific essay. It's not fair to expect them to write a quality essay if you don't tell them how they are going to be assessed, what are you looking for in that essay. So that rubric is very, very important. Last not more the least, yesterday panel discussion. It is a continuous process of learning and enhancing our skills. We teachers, we must accept it, that we are good teachers, no doubt. We might be good teachers, but we can be better. And that is possible when we are ready to enhance our skills. And that is another focus that I know many universities have these kind of programs, and we have graduate certificate in university teaching. And Dr. Agarwal, I would be very happy to work together on these things. And I think it's really important to help our teachers to be better teachers, enhance their skills so that we can improve the learning experience of our students. So, take home message, I hope I am on time. We have a bigger challenge, and that's why the agriculture and veterinary education has become very, very important. These people, these students, they will be facing bigger challenge. That's why we need to train them. And very rightly, Dr. Agarwal, that you mentioned about that we need this new age of agriculture education system, because the challenges are like that. And when it comes to creating more opportunities for more analyzing and more time for self-paced learning for students, flipped classroom model is just one example that I have shared with you. And of course, as I said, it is very, very important for our teachers and our actually institutes to enhance the learning skills, the teaching skills of our staff to improve the learning experience of our students. And no one can do this alone. Please, no one can.
Thank you, Dr. Chauhan. It was very, very interesting, and it gives a real good picture that you have implemented a blended system of learning, which is working. And it's a good experience to all our colleagues who have not seen your facilities there. But it was very interesting, and you have increased your voting percentage in favor of blended education by a nice presentation. These two presentations have really given good insight on the matter and very useful. Thank you very much. Next, we have Professor Perry Den Brock, who will be speaking on integrating innovation and entrepreneurship in agricultural education. He is joining us virtually from the Netherlands. He is professor in education and learning sciences at Wageningen University, Netherlands, and chair of the group. He has conducted studies on teachers in secondary education. He is the chair of 4TU Center. I don't know what 4TU is. He will explain. 4TU Center for Engineering Education, a center that initiates sports and studies, course and curriculum innovations. Very interesting area. Welcome, Professor, and please go ahead with your lecture. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me. Welcome from the Netherlands. It's still very early in the morning, so I'm lecturing now from home, with the family still asleep. And I hope you're all having there a very good conference already. Like I said, like the chair said, I'm also chair of 4TU Center of Engineering Education, and he asked what that was. Well, 4TU stands for the 4 Universities of Technology in the Netherlands, and In the Netherlands, Wageningen University, which is actually an agricultural university, is considered also an engineering university, but one of a special brand. I'll now start my presentation. Share my screen. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I'll be talking about integrating innovation and entrepreneurship in agricultural education. And my keynote will be a little bit more of general nature, but I think you'll see that it aligns very well with the previous two speakers. And you'll hear some things maybe twice, but that's not a problem, I think. For education and learning, some repetition also helps to get things internalized. So why would we innovate education and focus on entrepreneurship in agricultural education? Well, previous speaker already mentioned it. There are some quite daunting challenges in the world, and what we want in our universities is that our graduates contribute to these challenges. And here you see a couple of pictures of just some of the challenges. And I guess yesterday and in earlier lectures, people might also have referred to the Sustainable Development Goals. Basically, this is a different way of showing what kind of challenges are occurring in the world and where we can train, support our learners to contribute to those. Of course, that's very important, and it has quite a lot of consequences for our education, our teaching and our learning. But it also means that it's not just about content, knowledge, and technology, but also, and I don't know if many people know this, also means developing inner development goals or the soft skills that the previous speaker also talked about. This is actually from a similar group that developed the Sustainable Development Goals. And what you see here is basically a nice framework to think about what kind of skills do we want our students to learn and to master. And they go all the way from relating to others and knowing oneself up to thinking skills and being creative, taking initiative, which you could call maybe the more entrepreneurial skills. So here you see the Antwerp framework. This is in Europe. This is a framework that is about entrepreneurship and it basically delineates a set of competences or skills, you could say, that learners need to have in order to contribute to all these important challenges. And again, you see quite a number of terms repeating from the previous slides, so things like creativity, having visions, creating opportunities, creating value, but also management, planning, experiential learning, motivation, perseverance, and so on. These things are important. The question is, if in our education, we also address them well. Do we integrate these things into our curricula? It's not so much about replacing content, but it's how do we use these things to train students to deal with content and knowledge. So what I'll do now is very briefly go through some drivers for educational innovation at Wageningen University, but I think what you will notice is that most of those are pretty general and would, I hope, or I think, also apply to your own institutions. Well, the first I already mentioned, so there are important things going on in the world that really need to be solved for future generations. So that really is a major driver, a major mission of, I think, almost all agricultural universities at the moment. However, there is also, I think, in many countries, there is a change in the population of learners. Here you see a graph displaying student growth at my own university. So you see that groups of learners have increased widely. Variety has increased because we also cater for both professionals and let's say the traditional students at the same time. which for entrepreneurial learning is actually very good. But also a more international population. And yeah, the picture of the little baby below, that signifies that the learners are not only more diverse and increasing numbers, but also that they have different predispositions. They're a different generation than our own generation. And we have to cater for that. Well, I think this whole conference is, of course, about the role of technology. I think technology is really, yeah, the developments are really going quickly. And that means also that for our education, we can use it. We can use it for example, flip the classroom, like the previous speaker said. But also, I think in the conference there are presentations on virtual and augmented reality. There are now, I think there is a lot of fuss in a lot of countries about ChatGPT. So also new technology that on the one hand might be scary also for teaching and learning. On the other hand can also really enhance it. But these things also drive how we innovate and change our education. And for entrepreneurial learning they are extremely important. This is a fourth driver. This shows how research itself is changing. Of course, we still do a lot of the research we always have done in labs in the field. But this is a picture of a Dutch effort for the national bird counting. There's actually a number of activities where the audience, where citizens are asked to provide data to researchers using ICT and tools, and then the researcher tries to create, for example, a national picture. In this case, on different types of birds. So citizen science, for example, is a new trend, but we also have to train our students to become researchers and use this. Well, finally, that was also mentioned and shown by the previous speaker. I think many universities are now changing and recreating their visions on education, indicating which themes and trends they are going for, but also what values are important. And these values change. Again, it's not about, like the previous speaker said, ignoring the past or simply replacing things. But there are new things coming our way, and we have to cater for those. And with these 5 drivers in mind, I would like to now go a little bit more into detail about what trends I see, at least at my own university in education, what changes are occurring. And I really like this concept of educational ecosystem. Again, the word ecosystem was used by the previous speaker. But I use it to kind of order the different innovations that we see happening in education right now. So you have these motivations and drivers that I already just talked about. And then we basically have 5 major elements that are very interconnected. That's what the arrow shows. And this model actually comes from entrepreneurial education, so it's quite interesting. And the 5 components are framework, connections, culture, pedagogy, and spaces. So framework is about the structure of education, so the rosters, the things like goals, how courses are ordered. Connections is about who learns and teaches with whom. Culture is again about these values that are important. Pedagogy is about the teaching and the learning activities, and spaces is about the places or the space in which learning and teaching takes place. And I will briefly go to each except for framework, because that's really university specific. So what happens, structure I also briefly touch upon. So I think what we see is next to the traditional courses now, there are more and more courses that deal with complex problems, project-based education, challenge-based education. I think there is, it's the third point, that our curricula allow for much more choices, both within courses as well as between courses. So students can partly do, they partly have to do obligatory courses, but of course they can also create their own profile. And that relates to the importance of professional identity. One student cannot comprise everything, so they have to make choices. But what choices do you make? Why? What type of agricultural entrepreneur, for example, do you want to become? In what companies or on what farms do you want to work? And what do you don't want? So it's also about dilemmas and about tensions that you need to deal with. And I think there was already talk about assessment. I think the trend I see, and I think that's a good one, is that we go more and more for formative assessment next to, or sometimes even almost replacing summative assessment. There are many reasons for this. It's all these developments that I mentioned, importance of skills, complexity of problems. It also has to do with some threats that are occurring next to opportunities. Like I mentioned ChatGPT, a lot of people are wondering what does that mean for assessment? Well, it means that you have to vary your assessment, that you cannot only depend on essays and those kinds of things, because students can use this technology to really almost let the computer do things. So I think a combination of assessment is very important. Well, connections was already mentioned also previously. I think these complex problems require different disciplines to come together, next to, of course, the disciplinary part. It means that a lot of the activities that students do are in collaboration and co-creation, typically more and more on campus, I would say, but of course can also be done online. And next to that, I also see, and I think it's very important also, when you look at the whole picture, that multiple practices come together, so that students not only work with other students and teachers, but that they also work with farmers, with companies, with society. And that's, of course, they need skills for that, boundary crossing skills, basically. Well, these trends in university visions and values, already mentioned a little bit at the beginning. Here you see some of the values that at Wageningen University we regard important. So, of course, high quality knowledge, as in any university, is very important. You want to really provide a rich learning context that includes technology, blended and online, but can also be related to outdoor education or combinations thereof. I already mentioned flexibility, learning paths, choices, even choices in what you do when, so choices in the sequence of things. Well, of course, all these complex problems can also be daunting for students and learners, so they need to take agency, they need to possess the skills also to deal with uncertainty, maybe disappointments, failures. Sustainability, of course, very important. For the environment, being inclusive, and yes, also having more societal impact. And impact not only via our research, but also via education. And that's really possible with technology. I mean, we can do MOOCs, we can do challenges where we invite other people in. I think that's really a nice and important trend that's occurring. Yes, all of this means, of course, that there is also a change in pedagogy, in learning, active learning. Again, I think the flipped classroom is a nice example of how you, at least on campus, you stimulate more active learning, experiential, lab, outdoor. But all these complex projects and these skills also require that people become self-regulated learners, that they know what goals are, that they know they can monitor themselves, that they can plan, that they can evaluate what they do. And for teachers, this also creates new roles and requires professional development. It's not only about good lecturing, like I'm doing now, but also about being a coach, being able to work with other disciplines, being even able to some degree to assess things that are going outside one's own discipline. Of course, accept and use ICT or tools. And to be a boundary crosser, a networker. And again, I think what we will see I see at least more and more in the Netherlands and at Wageningen, is that teachers cannot do all of this. So again, similar to students, where we say it's important that they create profiles, I think for teachers also it's important to create their own profiles, and as a team basically cover all these bases that I mentioned here. And I think that means that on one hand we need to have some core skills that all teachers need, but again, some people can be more ICT supportive, others might be better coaches, and or combinations thereof. So those are I think important trends in teaching and in learning. And finally, that's the fifth component. We have the spaces in which it's learned. Well, some things I think I already mentioned, but it's good to remind you here. Real life cases, case-based learning, challenges, problem-based learning, experiential learning. It all means that learning gets a higher degree of authenticity, that there are real life cases coming into the university. Of course, the use of technology, and I'll make a concluding statement on my next slide about this. I think it's more and more important that, especially if we also talk about sustainability and what things mean for society, that we go into society, that we combine, let's say, in institution, in school, with out of school. And yeah, all of this also means that our own classrooms need to be more flexible and open. And below you see a picture of a Wageningen classroom. But I thought the University of Melbourne picture in the previous speaker also showed a nice example of how students are sitting in groups. There are different ways how they can present, work together. Next to the lecturing halls, of course. So I already come to the end. So I hope, and I guess I'm still in time. So what does all these drivers and all these trends that I know, what do they mean for blended education and emerging technologies? I just make a few statements here, maybe also discussion points. So I think for many teachers and many universities, up to now, a lot of blended and online learning also had to do with creating efficiency. But really, like the previous speaker also mentioned, and the first speaker as well, I think technology allows us to really enrich learning, to add things, to bring things in, but really also to transform learning or teaching processes. For example, via virtual or augmented reality. Even some skills can be trained using this technology. For example, we at Wageningen now have a virtual environment for presentation skills of students that they can. It's really fancy. It really looks authentic. It looks at your facial expression, your voice, your pace of speaking. It looks at where you look into the virtual classroom. It's really nice. And of course, that can help to bridge the gap to practice that often exists between theory and practice. We talked already a lot about connections, collaborative learning, getting professionals into the classroom. I think there IT can really help us also to create more flexibility. Interestingly, more flexibility sometimes also requires more structure. If everybody uses different size of courses and different schedules, flexibility becomes a problem for the students. So it's not. It seems logical and simple, but it's not. I think, again, this was also a question in the past days. When do we use technology and when don't we use technology? What can we do face-to-face? What should we do face-to-face? And what should we do online? That can also relate to sustainability, not using too much materials in our teaching, can relate to safety. But I think important is we really need to think about this, and the balance might differ between disciplines within a university. And I think that's okay. Well, and the last thing is also interesting. On the one hand, we have all these tools and we want to use them more. At the same time, all these skills, all these trends that I mentioned also require more, we could say, embodied in context, whole person learning. And to some degree, those might contradict a little bit. I don't think so, but again, it's about this balance. Where do we seek this balance? And with that, I have come to the end of my brief lecture. And thank you for having me here.
Thank you. On integrated innovation and entrepreneurship in agriculture. So now our next speaker in the list is we have to move on with the next talk, and that is by Professor Glenn C. Shin, who is also speaking virtually from USA. Dr. Glenn S. Shin is Professor Emeritus, Department of Agricultural Leadership, Education and Communication at Texas A&M University, USA. He has professional experience in 39 countries and led Texas A&M post-conflict development teams in Iraq and Afghanistan. He is engaged in the field of rural development, agriculture education, curriculum integration, diffusion of innovation and agricultural technology. So he's going to talk today on blended learning and emerging artificial intelligence technologies. Dr. Glenn, please.
Thank you very much. Are they loading the slides from your deck? I'm concerned if we have the slide deck loaded. But as we begin, what we're trying to think through is looking backward as well as looking forward. I was listening to the three presentations this morning, and it's amazing if we could do a word cloud. I suspect that we'd have 75 common words that have come through these five or six presentations. So we're having the same language, but we're putting those languages together very differently. I'm not sure if we're going to get the slide deck up or not. One of our challenges for me, and I suspect for you, is that we must address our future learners with their needs rather than our past needs. Their future will be very different than ours. Well, as we begin, what I want to do is to try to look at four different perspectives. In fact, a roadmap, if you will, with 4 checkpoints. One of those is to draw a parallel between the profile leveling engineering approach and blended learning. The second checkpoint would be reflecting on those fundamental and powerful principles that are well-known, established benchmarks, but also breaking from our past, looking forward towards 6 foresights. Those foresights are unknown readings, unknown elevations until we read them and record them. So we're living in a future of foresights, if you will, and then drawing conclusions. I hope we can do that without the slides. It may take a little bit of adaptability here to make that happen. But what we've been through in these past 3 years has been tremendous chaos. And at that point, what I would like to do is to recognize the tremendous work that you've been doing here and demonstrating through this conference. The external evaluators marked your projects as exceeding expectations. That is very commendable and should be recognized. So what we want to do then is to look forward in some meaningful measurements and meaningful outcomes. And looking forward, also looking at the possibilities of this new innovations that are coming in terms of AI. in terms of open AI and in terms of GPT, and how that's going to affect our presentations and our work. Well, looking back, 2019, 2023, suddenly our world changed, and we were forced to move from face-to-face into a virtual reality. For many, both students and faculty, it was a very stressful, turbulent time. As we look backward and reflect on our past practices, we need to look forward and look at our educational innovations. So evaluating the current state of technology is very important. Considering the benefits and challenges of that is important. And exploring the potential, the vast potential for AI. A metaphor helps me think through that, and I'm sorry that you can't see that illustration. But as a surveyor and as growing up in a farming and soil conservation family, we ran terrace lines and ponds and waterways and all kinds of soil conserving structures. Part of that was in benchmarking, that is looking at what we know as elevations. Part of that is in foresights, that is what is an unknown as we move forward. So we do that with basically 8 steps in the surveying process, and amazingly about 8 steps in the blended learning process. So varying the terrain depends on the number of steps, but one of those that must be considered and has been mentioned, I believe, 4 times, is inclusivity or access. We must increase our access to post-secondary education, at least on this side of the water. The second thing that is pretty essential is this formative assessment. And I agree with Peter that maybe the formative assessments are really more important if we stop and think than even summative, although I'd argue that we maintain that summative reference point. From there, we move into some unknowns, that student-centered approaches, active learning, project development, technology integration, collaborative learning, and not to be last, but also we need to think in terms of reflection. Reflection is a backside. It's a reading that's taken on a known elevation, and we know what our past is. We have no idea what our future is, but we can extrapolate that trends to predict and in fact transform our future. So today we're at a turning point. In a survey, a turning point is a temporarily established reference point of known elevation. It's an integral part in profile leveling. So let's look back at what we know. What is a learning ecosystem? You've heard that described about 3, perhaps 4 times over the last yesterday and today. But for me, it's a holistic system that facilitates learning. It's a giant puzzle, and each of those puzzle parts must fit together. We must be able to visualize that picture of the puzzle and then begin to reform those. Leading researchers in ag science have already created this known elevation. Leading researchers in agricultural education have created that known elevation. So what do we do? What let's try to do is standardize our vocabulary. And I regret that you cannot see that illustration, but we use pedagogy as a generic term, if you will. So when we say pedagogy, as we mentioned, Peter mentioned a minute ago, pedagogy can refer to all kinds of teaching methodologies, but as has been previously alluded to, learners are very, very different. They're very different by age, they're very different by attitude, they're very different by ability. So pedagogy should be used to describe techniques and strategies for children, for young children. Andragogy, on the other hand, is a different approach for a different learner, an adult learner. And the way we should manage adult learning and lead adult learning is very different than a child. In the last decade or so, heterogogy has become an important factor. And heterogogy is really a self-determined approach to that. So children need direct learning, adults need flexible learning, heterogogy needs coaching. And so a lecture in one application is probably not appropriate for a delivery. Well, we've got several things to talk through, but with the lack of a slide presentation, I'm afraid it's very difficult for you to follow. Let me cut to what I think are the summary kinds of things. And one of those has been mentioned twice at least. No one of us can do everything, but all of us can do something. And so as Peter mentioned a minute ago, if I have 3 or 4 of those major skill sets, and he has 3 or 4 of those major skill sets, and we combine that, we now have 6 or 8 or 10, because they're synergistic. So managing self-directed learning requires coaching. Managing pedagogical learning requires structured lecturing or content delivery. Let's go ahead and run on through what we would have normally spent a little bit of time. I think the other thing that comes through with this previous discussions yesterday and today is the involvement of stakeholders. And we have at one time been very inclusive in our approach to teaching. When we closed the door to the classroom, no one else came in. But today we need to have a team approach to that and involve the education. Well, Mahatma Gandhi said it best, perhaps, the difference between what we do and what we're capable of doing would likely suffice to solve most of the world's problems. So we have the potential, but we must move forward with that a lot. There's a cover slide. Let's stop at that point, recognizing backsides as fundamental and powerful principles. As teachers, managers of learning, we need to refer to those occasionally, regularly, as a back sight on a known elevation. But at the same time, turn forward and look at the unknown. We can face the unknown by simply taking multiple measures. Those multiple measures vary depending on the topography. So if the topography where I grew up was very level, we may not need to take as many foresights as in a topography in the northern end of India, for an example. I'm glad to be with you, and I have learned a lot with you yesterday and today. I'm sorry that we're not able to approach the slides and look through those well. It's easier to act ourselves into a new way of thinking than it is to think ourselves into a new way of acting. It's easier to act ourselves into a new way of thinking using forward models than it is to think ourselves into a new way of acting. Albert Einstein made a tremendous comment, I thought, that doing is a quantum leap from imagining, but all of those things are important. I think at that point, let's just stop at that point. Perhaps we could have some discussion rather than try to go back and recapture those slides. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Glenn, for your excellent talk on blended learning and emerging artificial intelligence. We will move on with our next presentation by Mr. Harshvardhan Kikeri, who is also going to talk virtually, and he is the Chief Executive Officer and Chief Technology Officer, HoloSuite Holo World. He has 21 years of experience and 44 patents related to building extended reality, motion capture suits, and aerial and ground robots. His expertise in machine learning and immersive learning can pave way for greater uses in arena of experience learning for applied sciences. Dr. Kikeri is going to talk on how virtual reality is changing education and research. So over to Professor Kikeri.
Excuse me, I am from the organizer. The speaker is having some difficulty in joining. Can we wait for him just few minutes?
Okay.
Or until he can join
Yes.
in the session?
We have a patience, and we would like to use this time for some response from the very respected audience.
Very good.
Yes? Some response or no response? That's also a response. Dr. Pravinder?
I have a question if we would feel that.
Yes.
If I may ask a question. In GPT generation of artificial intelligence, it does a tremendous job of creating content. How do we verify that content as valid?
Content is valid.
I just ran a profile this morning. Actually, it's a little past midnight here, but it can do those kinds of validations in about less than 1 minute. To do a revolution would require maybe several days. How do we verify that GPT output as being valid and reliable?
There was some difficulty in sound, so maybe Perry can respond to it. Hopefully,
Yes.
he can help us.
I think it's a very interesting question. I think it is quite difficult to verify things. Again, like I said, in teaching and in education, I think what we need to do is a combination of things. So we never have to only trust on these technologies or accept them and then use them smartly. One of the things, for example, discussion at my university now is, okay, so we do a lot of our teaching and learning in English. The English of not all the students is as good as it is, but with these programs, actually the computer can help in enhancing the grammatical and structure of writing. So if we use it, then we could say, okay, then we raise the level. Maybe similar as in the past, we used word processors that did spelling checkers and those kinds of things. So I think that's one part. The other part is I think for the future, we still need to do a lot of face-to-face stuff. We still need to talk to each other and so on. So I think variety of approaches is important. How to check right now? I think the technology goes so fast. I know that some of the older versions of ChatGPT, I mean, they combine nicely, but if you really look at referencing and those kinds of things, it doesn't make sense. So you have to check. But the newer versions, they already do a better job. And if you combine it and so on. So, yeah.
Thank you very much, Perry. I'm sure now next speaker, Dr. Kikeri, is now online, and I request him to go ahead with his talk on how virtual reality is changing education and research.
Hello, thank you very much for inviting me for this talk, and My talk will be on showcasing some of the new things which are actually happening in virtual reality and how it is impacting education and research. So the metaverse or this new AR, VR technologies are actually changing the way people are able to learn and also how they're able to teach. So let us look at now what are the physical training limitations. Why do we even need this technology? Right? So if you look at a lot of these high quality labs, the infrastructure is available in some place, but it cannot be easily replicated everywhere, right? It costs so much to build physical infrastructure, and even after you build it, it costs a lot to replicate it everywhere. And also to train the people on this physical infrastructure and have them maintain it, it is very expensive and it consumes a lot of resources. Resource sharing of these things is almost extremely difficult because it entails a lot of physical travel. Now, so many times students do not have enough time to play around with this equipment. And even when they start playing around with some of the physical infrastructure, there is always a risk that it may break. Right? So these are some of the reasons why physical training. Hello? Sorry. So these are some of the reasons why physical training has some limitations, and metaverse or AR VR has some very unique solutions to offer to solve this problem. So what we can do in the metaverse is we can actually create a lot of this infrastructure holographically. So we can build labs, we can build training scenarios, we can recreate a lot of these real world experiences and allow unlimited time for practice. And we can also use high quality humanoid and robotic avatars to significantly enhance the performance. In fact, I think Bill Gates was just today, I think he was mentioning that ChatGPT is not going to be able to do the job of the teachers. It is just one tool which can actually help. In fact, the thing is, it's almost like thinking that how do we actually educate the students better rather than just, it's almost like memorizing. If somebody gave you an answer, right? So ChatGPT works like that, wherein it just repeats that answer. It's somebody just by hearting an answer. But this type of holographic training, metaverse training, actually allows like these teachers to create experiments, to set the scenarios and evaluate the students. And some of the basic things can be done by the AI like ChatGPT, but there is a lot of exploration, excitement, which the teachers can bring in by showcasing things in the real world and augmenting it virtually or holographically, and also showcasing what are the things that you can learn as a concept and then showing how it can be applied in the real world. Many times, due to environmental conditions, due to many other reasons, you may not be also able to show a lot of the what if scenarios, right? What if there was a fire? What if there was some kind of unforeseen event? And it is very difficult to simulate these things in the real world. And in the virtual world, we can actually not only simulate them, but we can also safely prevent real problems from happening. For example, if the student is not very well trained, maybe in an elephant darting scenario, if he goes near the elephant and if it doesn't take the right action, then he or she may get physically injured, right? And also there are some things which are very interesting, which is if the scale of what we are actually trying to see is much bigger or much smaller, microscopic as well as macroscopic structures are actually much better visualized and understood in AR and VR compared to the real world. And there are various technologies which are being built. Today I'll be just talking about a few of the technologies that I am familiar with and which we have actually built and delivered in collaboration with World Bank, with ICAR, to many of the universities. So when we look at this holographic infrastructure, right, the first thing is like being able to track and create a digital twin or a holographic twin of the human body so that you can actually go and interact in this world. So that is what the holosuit does. The second thing is there are a lot of applications wherein in agriculture there are these various types of robots, some of them humanoid, some of them non-humanoid, but these robots actually can be connected via the metaverse and can be trained to do real physical things. So it's not just metaverse is not just limited to only the digital domain. From the digital domain, we can actually control physical robots, which is very unique and interesting. And that is what we are doing with some of the robotics collaborations that we are building. Similarly, the students can go and teachers can also come in a multiplayer scenario with extended reality where they will be able to see each other and interact with each other. And the most important thing is being able to take a lot of the existing physical infrastructure using some type of holographic capture technology and then recreating them and adding a lot of the underlying physics, underlying principles of how these things will actually move so that the holographic environment is not just a static environment, it's an interactive environment. There is AI involved. For example, how does an elephant behave, right? How does the shark behave? How do the plants move? All of those things, how do the bacteria go inside and do certain things? So there is a lot of interesting AI which can actually be applied on top of the 3D metaverse. Right now, I think if you look at most of the other things people have built, why people have not yet understood the full impact of metaverse on education is because these type of AI, holographic AI or holo GPT, right, which will be a beautiful tool, and that is what we are actually building in collaboration with the ICR and World Bank, with various universities, is that how do we actually take this holographic capture and then reproject it, right? For example, we are working with one of the fishery universities wherein this whole captured information can also be holographically projected back, right? So what are the steps, right? The steps are in terms of being able to virtualize the human body movement, virtualize the environment, and then allowing these humans and robots to actually learn in this world. And I'll just quickly play a quick video which showcases how this can actually happen, right? So as you can see here, you can actually go and start looking at various parts of the human body, how it is moving, and then start creating those interaction points where we can show various things in this world which can actually be utilized and which can train both the students, and some of the times it can also help in the faculty development itself, right? So one of the most exciting and encouraging things here is that faculty can actually be also trained simultaneously and they can learn much more because they already know the subject, but some aspects, some new research can all be done. For example, about robotics, right? Let's say they already know about agriculture or farming, but they may not know about how to apply robotics for farming, right? So there are different types of robots, different types of autonomous things which are coming online. But now, using this technology, the faculty can also actually learn and they can start developing new research techniques first in the virtual world, and then the same thing can be applied in the physical world as being demonstrated here, where physically this is a robot which is being taught how to perform various actions. But the exciting and the most interesting things here is that these are the robots which can actually navigate into a field, for example, and operate on various plants. It could be a pick and place operation. As you can see, digitally, the holosuit and the robot are getting connected. And through that, we come to a point here where how do we now even know the reality? What is real, what is virtual? So I'll just quickly play video.
Skilling a billion artificial intelligence to connect teachers and students both physically as well as virtually. So for example, here is a virtual robot and here is a real robot. Or is this virtual and this real? Let us find out.
Any guesses? I just give 1 second for you to think about it. Which is real, which is virtual, and then I'll play it.
Let me scale this robot. Let me scale it down. As you can see, we can actually teach students and teachers just using your mobile phone various aspects and replace extremely complicated laboratories with a simple mobile phone and or a computer. And this can be used either in the classroom setting or it can be used in their own home setting. And especially in this coronavirus time,
for veterinary, for teaching robots, for teaching agriculture. And when they come into this land, they can select one of these lands and they can go deeper and learn more about how to actually build the robot, how to program it, how to use it in a particular scenario, whether it's picking up an object, picking up a fruit, or understand the underlying mechanics of it, how the electronics works, and it can be extended and expanded to various robots and drones, both underwater, in the air, as well as on land robots, and even agricultural equipment like tractors. And you can see here, this opens up the possibility of really going very deep and even seeing things which cannot be seen even in the physical world. You can see underlying how the electrons move. You can actually have them practice using either a headset or a mobile phone and start understanding what are the concepts. You can have a teacher also join in remotely if required and help the students if they're stuck. And especially the most exciting thing here is you can look at various layers of the anatomy and start having them assemble it so it becomes more interactive compared to a YouTube video. And they can actually go and look at various types of issues which can be simulated, and it can significantly compress the time which will be required for them to actually understand the concept correctly and see real world applications. And they can even monitor and understand how the drones work, how they survey, how they can control it, and how they'll be able to utilize this information. So I'll just quickly play a video which demonstrates this, wherein somebody kind of going into this metaverse, what would they see, right? They can have like a AI, and they can have a teacher and a student, right? So it's a collaborative system where the teacher and the student and the AI will all be together. And some of the things the AI can prompt and then let the student explore. And then if the student gets stuck, the student can always have the benefit of having the teacher teach them. So here the teacher is actually showing them, okay, this is the particular component that needs to be placed here and why it needs to be placed here. So some of the basics can be covered by the AI, and the more advanced things can actually be taught. The intuition can be given, the field experience can be given by the teacher, and the teacher now has a beautiful 3D holographic interface to now teach. So previously we used to use blackboards, then came the smart boards, but smart boards are still 2D, right? But these type of holographic projection systems, holographic interfaces, allow now 3D interactions to happen, 3D visualizations to happen, which I think is going to be quite exciting. Thank you very much for providing this time, and I look forward to answering any questions if you have any. How we are doing on time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Harshvardhan. You have talked about various technologies related to holographic interface for teaching and learning. So thank you very much. Over to the chair.
Thank you, Dr. Sharma, for taking care of these 2-3 presentations. We have now come to close this session. Before that, we have number one, the discussion. And now this is the time for discussion. Yes, please.
Honorable Chairman, sir. This is Anil Punia from ICR NDRI Karnal. My question goes to Professor Marwa and Chauhan Saab. There are some of the recent challenges in this kind of learning and all, and one of them has been briefly said by Dr. Harshvardhanji about this open AI tools. These open AI tools, they are very recently launched into the media, and people are making use of these. And one of them is Open Chat GPI. This Open Chat has already passed some of the exams also, to the extent of Master in Business Management and Masters in Computer Science. And yesterday I saw one news that Open Chat is one of the co-authors in one of the research paper on in artificial intelligence. So how we can deal with these kind of off-late challenges? Because if these kind of artificial intelligence tools will be there, then it is possible that tomorrow's skilled will be today's skilled person will be tomorrow's unskilled one. So thank you very much.
Yes, Sudeep.
Hello. So I think this we can take it in a positive way rather than seeing in negative way, right? We can always use it for anything for the positive purpose, and yes, there are other ways to use those technologies also. And we are always using, as far as the education is concerned, I believe we always restrict our users to a boundary, right? And we can always see, even in the online case, we have ways to detect if the assessment is done by a student or by any other device. So usage can be always restricted, and for good things we can use it. So I don't foresee that much challenge for the education purpose, these things. So Chat GPT or other open AI, they are doing wonders. We can use it for better purposes.
I just want to add that I don't know if you paid attention to when Perry was talking about. Perry has already referred to this. Perry, do you want to quickly say it again, please?
Yeah, I think there are many interesting chances to really enhance skills and enhance the learning experience with these things. But I think my main comment was about assessment and different modes of use of in our education. I think yes, if we do only end assessments with, for example, essays or written types of assignments, yes, students could cheat between brackets with these types of technologies. But then, if this is only one of the assessment modes, and we do also oral exams, we have skills-based exams. You need all things, and I think all these things are needed. But we have to think about them carefully, and like I said, also it will mean that if some things can be enhanced, we can set higher demands for certain skills or certain elements. I mentioned the English in our university. If there is really tools available, then I think as teachers we can demand higher level of certain, for example, of English, because the computer can help. But that means then there's also more, maybe a better way for the students to not focus on that, but to really, for example, focus on content or certain skills. So I think my advice was on a variety and use it smartly where it can be used, but also not only depend on this.
Thank you. I think, yes, last question, please.
Agriculture in Telangana. I'm sure that the ICR, the agriculture education, new education policy, people, the team might have studied about this. Since 1.5 days we are talking about this blended learning and all, but there should be a national, wide, intensive survey to be made by agriculture education system for utilizing this blended learning or online learning or hybrid mode of learning. Before we already implemented during the COVID period, and we know yesterday Dr. Gautam sir was saying, like we don't know what students have learned exactly, what teachers have are satisfied. Everyone is good talking about this online teaching and all, but there should be an intensive survey to be made nationwide there might be agencies which does such kind of surveys before we go deeply into this adapting this blended learning thing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sir, I have a small add-up point to that.
Yes, please go ahead.
I'm Dr. Geeta Lakshmi, the Vice Chancellor of Tamil Nadu Agricultural University, and it's quite interesting. I really liked the way Chauhan sir gave the points in executing this blended learning system. Only thing is, like for the Indian students, we have to give a big awareness, like the steps he said. The students have to come prepared before they come to the classroom. Those kind of things. We have to have great awareness. So for a separate session for the students in building their capacity on entering into such kind of new environment would definitely help in executing this system. That's my point, sir.
So I have a question to Dr. Chauhan.
Yes, Dr. Shukumar.
Yeah.
Sir. Okay, I have recognized you rightly.
Yes, sir.
Because
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr.
You have
Padusri.
changed your coat, so that's I know that.
So this is with regard to the flipped classroom model. You said that you have adapted it so well in your university. Now that my question is that what is the flexibility that you have in your examination pattern? Is it the examination on demand, or is it that it is on a fixed scheduled time?
That's a very good question, and that comes back to the Bloom's taxonomy that I was talking about. So we have different types of assessments, and those assessments actually Glenn also mentioned about, because we want to test different type of learning that is happening. For example, as I said, we test, for example, quizzes are there just to test do they remember things, and so that those things are open. That's a very good question. To give them flexibility, we might have quiz open for the whole day, so that they are not restricted by, oh, no, you have to do it between 9 to 10. No, we may open it for the whole day, but students will be reminded, so they know, and that's why the announcements are important. So the one point that Glenn also mentioned, flexibility is really important, because in Australia, and I worked in Ohio State for a couple of years, that a lot of students are working part-time. Most of our students are working part-time, and for them, flexibility is really important. So you can design assessment, different types of assignments, and you can schedule them to allow. And also another thing that we take into consideration, the different learning abilities of students. So for example, a quiz, typical 10 questions, 10 minutes. But if there are students who have been approved an adjustment academic program, which is students have some sort of disability, we have the capability in the system. We can allow that students maybe extra 5 minutes. That is, all those things are taken into consideration. So, I'm sorry there's a limitation of time, but I'm very happy all the honorable vice chancellors here. Actually, Vice Chancellor of Tamil Nadu Agricultural University, I'm hoping to see your registrar next week. I know they are in Queensland, but they are coming to Melbourne next week. I got an email. So we are happy to work with all of you and go into the details. Thank you.
One small extension to this, very quickly. I would like to just comment on it. So when you were just talking about the Bloom's taxonomy, it talks about testing the creativity and of the student and the application of the knowledge he has gained. So what in India we do, we just have those kind of questions, the quizzes, and trying to just understand how much student knows and how much a student, remembers. So going by that Bloom's taxonomy and trying to make this examination system more flexible and choice-based, it means that there is some scope for that kind of open book education system. So if at all we want to just move further, in this age of GBT and this open AI system, we have to also take care that the students don't lose creativity, and teachers have to now reform them to start posing questions which will test the students. Even if they will go to the chat GBT, they should not be able to find the questions. So the onus lies on the teachers, and for that, I believe that the system has to evolve faster.
Absolutely. So, for example, I mentioned that we do have they have to write a scientific essay. And actually, if you are not able to analyze and apply, you won't be able to write a creative essay. So there are different, that assessments that you can design to test different types of learning that we expect their students are. And for example, if ultimate goal is the ability of the students to create new knowledge, that's where you can ask them to, maybe create a web page, or ask them to design a project, do a research project, for example. So yeah, there are different things that can be done and planned.
Sir, one thing here. Chairman, sir.
Now what we will do is...
Chairman, one point here. Only one.
Yes, Dr. Prasad, I cannot deny you.
Yeah.
Please, but be kind to me.
Yeah, I'll be very quick. Thank you so much. Yesterday we did talk about blending, and we said there's a need for training the teachers, and also we talked about what is the percentage of blending required for various programs. But I also think there's a need to also look into the syllabus. We need to tweak the syllabus for if you have to do an online teaching, because taking a cue from Dr. Surinder, you talked about One Health program where you integrate the plant, animal, human, environment integration. So I think there is a need to integrate some of the courses and programs in order to make the online learning more effective and better. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. If I can quickly respond to that. Absolutely, Dr. Prasad, I couldn't agree more with you. And that's why yesterday we were talking about co-designing. So it doesn't start with the delivery, it starts with actually designing and setting those learning outcomes, setting those expectations in the beginning. So that's why you're absolutely right. So it starts with designing, which can actually maybe redesigning the whole course itself or the degree program. So that's why we are open now. The Indian government has opened the education system, and we are happy to work with the Indian universities. Maybe we can offer 2+2. Let's offer a dual degree. You teach 2 years, we will teach for 2 years, and give them a Bachelor of Agriculture Science, for example. So we are already doing some dual degrees, but that's not in agriculture. For example, I'm talking in terms of University of Melbourne. We are offering a dual degree with ICBLE, which we started just last year itself. IIT Kanpur, we are doing joint PhD degrees with them. But my goal was the University of Melbourne, we need to think about agriculture sciences as well. And I've been with all meeting different universities, and it is the goal that we will start joint or dual degree programs in agriculture sciences.
Thank you very much. We come to the Dr. Sharma. You would like to say something? Dr. Sharma would like to make his remarks.
I would like to add only a few points here in this particular session on blended learning through lens of emerging technologies. We basically learned two main things. One is teaching content creation, how we can use AI technologies, particularly ChatGPT, machine learning, and other technologies like MOOCs, YouTube, mobile applications, video, robotics, virtual classrooms. All these things we learned today in this particular session. But most important thing is content uses and application. How we can apply all these online applications to the benefit of the students and to the learners, or how we can spread our education, and very rightly pointed out what should be the percentage of blended learning. I think that point need to be considered, and I would like to thank the organizer for giving me opportunity to be here this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sharma. And now, briefly, I'd like to make quick comments and remarks. Well, yesterday, in one of the presentation, it was mentioned that the only reliable constant is change. Very interesting quote which was cited. And this project is based upon catalyzing process of change. And there is one booklet which says, change we must, but change is difficult. Well, so far we have found a consensus sort of thing that there is a need for promoting the blended learning system. It requires a change, but we have seen it has delivered at a time when it was required to be comfortable for us to doing the learning and teaching process. Now with this and the input given by the different speakers, I feel that three things. Undeniably, this will be becoming a common way of learning. In times to come, however, it is difficult to, at this stage, understand that how fast and how slow it will be, but this ecosystem will be a predominant system in times to come. Now, how do we prepare for this? One, infrastructure development. Two, capacity building of teachers and the students. Three, the product or the learning material, how best that is designed, how useful and how attractive it is. You can have a video which is hopeless. You can have a teacher who delivers a very good video and it is okay. I see a future in entrepreneurship development also. I think many heroes and heroines will also find time to become the people for communication, dissemination. That is also very important. At times to come, I think that today I have been made to think of that we may have to think of, if Amitabh Bachchan speaks, Kaun Badega Crorepati is very popular and everybody hooks to the TV. So I'm just saying that in time to time come, maybe not that it's not the real teacher who is delivering. He may not be that attractive for the students. They may like to look into some good faces to deliver the course. But he is a very handsome person, I don't say about this thing. So there are handsome people and they can make a good delivery also. People may be handsome, but usually teachers. But there will be teachers, but they can be not that handsome. But the times to come, you have to see what people prefer. I hope this is going to be a way of life, and we must prepare ourselves and change ourselves and move forward. Now, 2-3 things. How do we move forward? First is, what are our guidelines for this? You have to set that goal. What is the certification of the quality contents, the teaching, and all these things, rating them. You may have to accredit. We have several options to teach genetics. You pick up the best out of that. Competitive. What I say is pay the money also. You may have to IP issues in this. You may have to imbibe those things. So we have to set guidelines and do massive capacity building. Not a capacity building, I was just seeing here, that it's not only capacity building of teachers and learners. It is beyond that. There should be acceptability in the system that this education system is also credible. It has credibility. It has acceptability. Now those policy makers have to come and they have to be told that this kind of system is going to come and this will be accepted in jobs and all these things. So that is another area which you have to see. But more capacity building will be required for people who run the system. The vice chancellors, the deans, the directors, they have to create the facilitating environment and create and also imbibe that in the rules and regulations. One problem may come that how many credit hours the teachers have taught. Now you have to find out how much time it has been given. And there is a system in the UGC how the credit load is to be worked out. Now otherwise somebody will complain that teacher does not come to the class and he is not having any credit delivered. So the vice chancellor will take action. The registrar will be very happy to suspend him, and then this is how the life goes. What I mean to say is that enabling policy setup, the guidelines, the rules, the procedures and all these things have to be also simultaneously worked out. That is where the role of the administrator. That is why the presence of vice chancellor here and presence of deans and directors. I see many interesting people here, students here. But I say that a lot of it. But I find, I was just visualizing why the vice chancellor are very happy to have the blended system. There will be less time of the students in the college. There will be no strike. There will be no problem. There will be no strike against a teacher. So everybody will be goody, teacher will be happy, professor will be happy, these directors should be the most happy people. And of course, your salary bill may also go down. So, and adversely, on the other side, it may lose certain jobs. So it will mean creating new jobs and destroying some jobs. And we have to prepare of it because it's a change, and change we must, and change is difficult. But we all feel that it must be taken on board. And I was just reading today in the morning a Hindi paper. In that it's written, chalte chalte. When you are getting out of the room, something came to your mind. This chalte chalte, he has mentioned that a lawsuit has been filed against Mr. Robot, the lawyer. In the court, a robot appeared in the court on behalf of the company, and he was pleading, and then the opposite side, the physical lawyer, he's a virtual lawyer, he's a physical lawyer. The physical lawyer put the objection. My lord, he is not LLB. Second, my lord, he is not registered advocate in the directory of the court. So he should be penalized for impersonation and appearing as a fake persona. Very interesting. So in future, these kind of debates will be there, and you have also to be prepared for such kind of things. This is a challenge of happiness for good. So what I meant to see that you have to simultaneously, the policy framework is very, very important, enabling thing. If some employer says that we don't take people who have been trained in a blended education, so you have to accept that. And those rules take years and years together to be amended. So that's where I think challenges as well as the responses which we will have in times to come. But I see that it has a huge scope. I had a lot of things to share with you people, but knowing fully well that you have a tea waiting for you, you are not waiting for me, tea is waiting for you. And I would not like to really overshoot the time. It was interesting and very useful, and I, in the end, say it's an excellent conference where we have come to some consensus, whether by compelling circumstances or whatever it may be, that blended education will be normal way of education in times to come, and this will be the type of scenario which we have to face. So get ready, change, and change for the best. Thank you very much. Thanks to the organizer for giving me.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. And in the conclusion, we can say that the embracing blended learning and integrating the emerging technologies can do highly efficient many technologies. We discussed today the artificial intelligence, robotics, AR, VR, mobile applications. All these can be more efficient and effective learning outcomes and allow the students to excel in their studies for the future careers. So with this, thank you everybody, and please give a round of applause to our co-chairs and the speakers presented physically as well as virtually. Now this is the time to show our love and gratitude to each speaker and the co-chairs. May I now request Dr. Gautam to present a memento to our first speaker, Dr. Sudeep Marwa, on behalf of the organizers as love and gratitude for sharing his views. Dr. Begzod, please come on the dais. I request Dr. Sharma and other dignitaries to present a memento to Dr. Chauhan for sharing his ideas and valuable insight on the innovative model that he shared with us. I request to the dignitaries to present memento to our rapporteurs, Dr. Sanchita and Dr. Madhu. Please come on the dais. Now I would request Dr. R.C. Agrawal and NHEP and Begzod sir to present a small memento on behalf of the organizer as an effort of appreciation to Dr. Gautam, co-chaired the session for the time and valuable inputs that he has shared with all of us. Sir, your presence has been very valuable to us, and we certainly look forward for another such interaction in the future. On behalf of the organizers, again request to Dr. Agrawal and Dr. Begzod to present a memento to Dr. Sharma, DDG Crop Science, who also co-chaired the session with this small token of appreciation, our love and gratitude. Sir, it was a pleasure to have you with us today. All these presentations will be viewable from the conference website within a few weeks, and you can see and download. At the end, I would like to take this opportunity to thank, on my behalf of the organizers, Dr. Anuradha, please come. Please come on the desk. So at the end, I would like to take this opportunity to thank, on behalf of the organizers, to convey deep regards and hearty thanks to our co-chairs for their support and leadership, and keynote speakers for their sparing their precious time out and sharing their views. I thank to my audience for being present here today, for joining the session, for the interaction, for keeping their views and inputs, and making the session highly successful. Thank you all.
यह दुनिया का